I do have a question
Mhm.
that has more to do. I'm wondering whether, to our US listeners, we have something called CCA, Capital Cost Allowance, which is a little different than what you have. Capital Cost Allowance allows a property owner to write off a portion of the capital asset over a predetermined period of time. My question to you, Carolyn, is I haven't done the math, and that's why I'm asking you. Is there a situation where the CCA would offset if the asset is owned by the operating company, which I think we can all agree is not the ideal situation? But is there a situation where the CCA, it would be better to keep the asset in the operating company to offset profits created by that operating company? Would one necessarily offset the other so much so that the tax advantage that the property operating company or the, let's say, the shareholder of both would realize holding the asset or the real estate in a separate holding company, which one would be greater?
So to be clear for you US listeners, we both Canadian and the US allows for amortization. And in Canada, for tax purposes, that's our CCA, our capital cost allowance. Now, the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, gives businesses different rates at which they can amortize their capital property. And that can be different than the accountant's choices on amortization. So there can be a disconnect, and that's what results in future tax in Canada, but we're not going to go into that. Now, CCA is available on buildings, but not on land.
True. Yes, absolutely.
So you want to put the land over into, because land doesn't really depreciate. It maintains its value. There's no loss in land.
That's a very interesting concept. Have you actually seen that in practice where the land is held by a holdco and the facility itself is held by the operating company?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I've ever seen that, but that's very interesting. I guess that's next level and one reason why you're on the show because
I, I yeah, so I mean, land doesn't have CCA. And I don't know that I've seen it specifically because, again, I'm not going to ask the business, right? That's sort of when I'm given a business, I'll only go out to the edge of what it owns. I don't go through and say, who does pay rent to a land?
right, right.
Right?
Anyways, brilliant. Thank you so much for answering that. It was just one of those, earworms that was kind of, I wonder if could you possibly, I come across it all the time as a commercial investment real estate broker. We come across it all the time, particularly when we're asked to assess the value of a property. We usually break it down into the land component and the improvement component. I was just wondering, really, and I think you've answered the question, how would you deal if the two components were held individually or separate and apart? I think that's much more doable if you're dealing with, I can see a scenario where, a property owner or developer or business owner may hold the land separate and apart in a separate hold co, but would enter into, for instance, like a build to suit scenario where the operating company was building and responsible for the construction of the structure itself. I think under that circumstance, I can see how the two could be dealt with separately. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that answer.